The living room, where the family meets to discuss issues, any issue which may be bothering one of the family members. That's what we do each and every Tuesday on WAC 90.1 FM with Ricardo Mitchell and DJ Aaron 868. We have casual conversations on serious topics, from sports to culture, mental health to economics, relationships to life lessons. Join us each and every Tuesday on WAC 90.1 FM. The Living Room, casual conversations on serious topics.
It is currently 6 p.m. here in Trinidad and Tobago. I don't know what time it is where you are, but I'm glad to know that you're locked on to the true nation station, WACK 90.1 FM, where we are
ultra crazy.
Let's first and foremost kick it off as we always do, all right? We must give thanks and praises to the Almighty for granting us the gift of life and seeing another day. No matter what time of day it is, you must always
give thanks.
Secondly, must say thank you to those that went before us, and I will continue to reiterate this every week, not just the Tainos and Kalinagos, the original inhabitants of Trinidad and Tobago, because we all know that Columbus lied, but also to our brother in music, Tony Prescott, and the P this week stands for
Physio, bro. Physio. I'm keeping it real simple.
As I was just going to say physical.
Oh, I was thinking let's get physical, but then I realized
and that's a song?
It is. Big tune too.
Serious?
Yeah.
Man, just turn this big tune thing random.
Let's get physical is a real big tune here.
I know it is. But I just wanted to see if I would have beat you into singing it.
No, and I thought that you were trying to, and I successfully evaded it. It's cool.
Shucks. Tonight's the mission has failed.
No, man, we have more missions than that. We'll get opportunity to correct some misconceptions pretty soon.
And misconstrued information.
Quick as a word though, how are you doing?
I real good. I real good. I have some things I need to get off my chest, but before we do that, how are you going?
Yeah, I great. I good. I cool. God is good. I have a roof over my head and food in the cupboard. So, yeah, I ain't complaining this week.
All right. We haven't hung our hats or wiped our feet in a while. And I want to wipe my feet first and foremost. To the business places that feel that this pandemic is over. Shame on you. Where's the sanitizer? Where's the hand washing station? Where's the temperature guns? Even though I'm not too keen on the security guards pointing this at me like if they're trying to shoot me.
As I say, shoot it had some action yesterday, boy.
Well, I'm not going to say that, but I'll get to that after. Come on. For 2 years, yes, we know we were in the heights of the pandemic and we were inside and everywhere you go had to wash your hands and stuff like that. Let's maintain that because the level of cleanliness which was portrayed over the past 2 years, let's not go back to before. Let's keep that going forward.
Right.
The second thing I want to wipe my foot on. You see the people who feel the need to share every video on everything. There was an unfortunate incident which took place on Rice Road yesterday, where a gentleman, I don't want to cast aspersions on his legal status, let's just leave it as that.
Right.
Died. You saw some of the videos of that incident, Ricardo?
I saw 2 actually, and I guess you're being particularly delicate about how you're phrasing the scenario, but
yes, because
it will go on record as a police killing. What I'm saying is that's a statistic that it is check. I'm not casting aspersions as to who did what right or wrong. I'm just saying that.
Yeah.
That's the facts.
Yeah.
Right? The man was killed in police action. So, yeah.
Yeah. Well, it was very disheartening to look at that video. Huh?
I don't normally look at a lot of the videos that's sent and forwarded, but It was something that happened in the very public eye. And it also kind of goes to show how desensitized we have become as not just a population, but as people to acts of violence and even death on camera.
Because now, I'll admit, this weekend I went to see Jurassic World.
Okay.
Right? And in a movie as such, there would be instances of death. And at times, I still cringe in movies.
Right.
Where it's staged. So when I cringed on Monday, when I opened that video and saw the incident, it hurt my heart to know that this went viral.
Right.
But yet, go ahead.
No, I was gonna say that the apparent appetite we've developed, the tolerance for graphic violence and media content has moved beyond tolerance and into an appetite.
Yeah.
I
like the apparent appetite. I was going to say the good alliteration, but then I remembered alliteration is the use of a consonant, not a vowel.
I live in that right here. I've learned that it's not every opportunity to correct someone that exists one should take.
Alliteration is not consonant.
I thought I did not know alliteration was limited to either consonant or vowel.
We'll check that and put it there.
I mean, I personally think that you should check it. I don't think I need to check it. But
I could put the definition right here just for clarity's sake.
Will do. Yeah. You just like to give me slides to make. I want to quickly just wipe my feet on a similar aspect, but it rhymes. It's not the same thing. You talking about the cleanliness and the hygiene that we displayed for the past 2 years. I'm looking at the fact that after having 2 years of staff working from home, working remotely, working in shift systems, etc., with similar and in many cases improved efficiency
and productivity,
right? The need to force people back into offices just so that you have a plantation to oversee, I think it is utter bollocks. Sheer rubbish.
I could add to that as well.
You could add it.
Over the past weekend, probably a week and more, we have been experiencing inclement weather in our country. How could you tell me, after a night of rain and you're seeing flooding in communities, you are going to force the employees to come to work?
Yeah. In fact, our guest actually posted a status earlier today. I posted a status earlier today about it. I'll touch on it briefly when we bring him in. And this is actually a pretty good opportunity to do so, if you don't mind, that we head into the meat of the matter.
Oh, well, I just had to hang my hat actually really quickly.
Oh, well, I ain't hanging hats on Jack this week. I'm not complaining, but I ain't celebrating nothing either. But
oh, no.
How about thee?
I was just going to hang my hat on the out-of-the-box decision to bowl Nicholas Puran on Sunday, and he took 4 for 48.
Yeah, it was
in another losing effort, but it was his best bowling figures on his first bowling foray. So go ahead.
That's nice, man. I was not available to observe, but based on the time that I've tried to watch cricket over the past couple of days, probably is a good thing I didn't know. Anyway, let me. We have a very special guest in the living room this evening, and the reason I say very special is because it's neither his first time in the living room, and not only that too, the first time I met this guy, I was so impressed by his delivery and his content, his diction and his accent, that, listen, we became Facebook friends, and up to now, I'm one of the man's biggest cheerleaders personally, and I don't cheerlead every and anybody while. Right? But Adrian Palmer is a registered physiotherapist in Trinidad and Tobago with a Bachelor of Science degree in Physical Therapy from UWI Mona in Jamaica, and a postgraduate diploma in Sports and Exercise Medicine from the University of South Wales. He's also certified by the American College of Sports Medicine as a Physical Activity in Public Health Specialist. He owns and operates his physiotherapy practice, Aruka Physio Plus Limited, and Aruka is a Hebrew word which means health and restoration, which encapsulates the mission of his services. He also works part-time as a physiotherapist in SurgiMed. Now, Adrian is a Seventh-day Adventist, and this strengthens his belief in holistic health. After years of seeing many people in his family affected by lifestyle disease, he's taken a particular interest in educating and helping people to prevent or manage these diseases. He serves as the Aruka Seventh-day Adventist Church as the health ministry's leader, where he promotes series on health education and health reform. He's a vegetarian and is convinced that this is the best diet suited for human health. He enjoys reading religious and health-related materials and spends time gardening and caring for ornamental plants, vegetables, and food crops at home, which he believes plays a major role in maintaining his mental and physical health. And these are the types of reasons why I follow this guy on Facebook, and rarely a day could pass where I do see something to like and comment on, because he's quite a character. So I think it's a good time for us to run the Warish intro and bring our guest into
the big tune.
Oh, the big tune. Everything is a big tune today, eh?
Welcome to the living room. Welcome to the living room. Welcome to the living room. Welcome to the living room.
Well, the man of the hour is in the building. He's in the living room. Right now, sorry it takes so long. I had to unlock the burglar proof and thing. Trinidad little hot this last round, so safety first.
He wasn't upstairs.
Now he reached upstairs yet, but a couple more episodes in the living room, and we had to get our guest bedroom for him.
That sounds good.
We had to do some extensions on this house, bro.
Yeah, man. So today, minding my business, Aaron and I planning for the episode, and my partner, our friend, our former guest, Sek Samuel, a health and fitness specialist operating in Canada, send me an article. You see this? I say, yeah, I see it. You say, you might have to wipe your feet on this, I say, wipe my feet. I think I want to do a whole episode. And I sent it to Adrian one time to see what he thought about it. It turns out that it was an article that was released by the organization that he functions within. Now, for the record, he is not here as a representative of the organization. He's not speaking on their behalf. He's a citizen, a resident as the case may be, right? And because of how active he is socially, in terms of his commentary and the positive space he's created, I thought he'd be an excellent person to help us comment on the content of that controversial article. Right? It was an article by Kimberly Wallace of The Express. And the headline was, Physiotherapy Association warns of impersonators. Had to bring a specialist, a qualified, certified, practicing specialist to let us know what has been going on and what he think about it. So Adrian, thanks for being here. Thanks for joining us in the living room on short notice.
Yeah, thanks, gentlemen. It's good to always be in the living room and to have these types of discussion. This was a very timely article. As you know, it's coming from the Physiotherapy Association of Trinidad and Tobago. So before I get any further, I just want to explain that there are two bodies for physiotherapy within Trinidad and Tobago. So the Physiotherapy Association is basically the organization that bats for physiotherapy. So they're basically our advocate. They speak up for us. They provide educational opportunities for us. And, it's also through that organization that we educate the public. There's also what they call the Physiotherapist Board, which falls under the Council of Professions Supplementary to Medicine. So that body now regulates the profession, ensures that everyone is registered, ensure that we are meeting our yearly educational, professional development requirements and that kind of thing. But the article was coming from the Physiotherapy Association of Trinidad and Tobago, because with the main aim of educating the public of an issue that has been happening for a really long time. And as some persons who know, I am Jamaican, so I have been trained in Jamaica. I spent a year working in Jamaica before I was recruited to come to Trinidad and Tobago. So the problem that he mentions about imposters, it's nothing new. But it is something that has not been dealt with in the most effective manner. And its reason it's a problem now is because we are seeing the citizens in the country, not only their finances are being wasted, but the rehabilitation potential has been declining because of time spent with persons who are not properly qualified. And not only that, when you look at families where, for example, the main breadwinner would have had an injury, and so an injury that they could have probably dealt with within a month because they're with someone who is not qualified properly, 2, 3 months, 4 months down the line, going to a year, they're still not better. So you could imagine the financial circumstances of such a home. There are a lot of bigger implications to this. So I am happy that the association chose to get this information out there because it's something that we really need to tackle head on.
Okay, now, excuse my ignorance on this. I want to ask this first question. What is the basic requirement to be considered a qualified physiotherapist?
All right, so I'm glad that you asked that question. So from country to country, it varies. So in Trinidad and Tobago, the physiotherapist board are the ones who regulate the profession. So in order to become a physiotherapist in Trinidad and Tobago, you have to apply through the board and not through the association. To become a physiotherapist, you have to have at least a bachelor's degree in physiotherapy. So that is a basic requirement, or some other entry-level education. Some countries, a master's might be an entry-level education. In the United States, you might have a doctor of physical therapy degree. So you definitely need that. And sometimes based on the country that you were previously trained in, if an internship was a part of the requirement, then you will have to complete that internship. Because you could have the degree, but not the internship component, then the board won't register you.
Okay, so not because as a football coach and I know how to crack an ankle or crack a back, that would make me a physiotherapist.
That is a good point you made. The other day someone messaged me and they say, I would like to come and work with you. I did some course in corrective exercise and I know a little manipulation and this and that. And they say, yes, I know some things about physiotherapy. And I said, no, that is not how it works. And I think that was pointed out in the article that what we do might look like something that, you could replicate. But the thought process leading up to your decision in choosing what avenue of treatment to be best for each person, it needs experience. It needs a higher level of learning, training, and education to make those decisions. So sometimes we see these things happen. A coach or sometimes probably like a fitness trainer or somebody like that, a massage therapist, tell a person, oh, let me do this, let me do that. And the person actually ends up in a worse position because their injury or their condition, or even sometimes the psychosocial issues surrounding their condition was not understood well. And and the persons end up in a worse situation than they should have been in.
So what we're hearing here so far is that there's a board for regulation, there's an association for representation,
yes.
And these are to ensure that the people who practice within certain parameters, because this is not just feel better, this is about healing. And
right.
The feeling better might not necessarily mean that you're healing, because it have more than one area to address when it comes to healing.
All right, I'm glad you made that point, Dan. This is something that is really common, and it was mentioned in the article where Dr. Pierre would have talked about the psychosocial aspect. Plenty times even in my practice, I would see people come with pain, and they say, all right, my back is hurting me, or my neck is hurting me. And if you go to someone who is not qualified or trained, they'll tell you, oh, you have knots in your back, or you're out of alignment, or you just need to crack. But these things, they are not scientifically proven. And plenty times when you interact with the patient and you spend the time to do a detailed medical history, and there is also something that people have to be trained in. It's not just somebody come and tell you that they have pain. You have to know how to investigate the patient. And sometimes when you investigate these patients, you realize that there is a psychosocial component to their pain. So they go to these people and they might get the crack, they might get the rub. but that gives a kind of temporary effect that they're feeling better. So by 30 minutes later, the next day, they're in pain again. And they keep going back by these persons just to get that temporary relief. And the problem is not really being fixed. But if the person was trained in properly analyzing and assessing and investigating a patient, then they would know the correct method. So instead of a person wasting 4 months or 5 months with someone who is not trained, if they went with a proper professional, they could have spent a month or less and they would have gotten the necessary help that they need.
Now, you keep saying psychosocial. Care to elaborate a little bit on what that is?
All right, so when I look at a patient, I see a person. I don't see an injury. So when you come with a back problem, to me, you're not just a back patient, you're a person. So let me just give an example. John Brown comes to the practice. John Brown is complaining of back pain. John Brown said last week he lifted a box and since then his back has been hurting him. So the first thing I think is that, hey, he probably strained a muscle in his back. So I started to ask him about the box. How heavy was the box? Well, probably like about 5 pounds. So I say, you ever lift anything heavier than 5 pounds? And he's like, well, yes. So I said, probably it's not the box. And I say, always things at work. I say, at work it's really stressful. It's hard to meet the deadlines. My boss, maybe, I think they're looking to fire me this week. So when he brings in that component of stress, that is what you call a psychosocial component, because the social life and the psychological effect that it has. Because what a lot of people don't know is that pain is a function of the brain. What I mean, the brain regulates feeling, tasting, and all these things. We feel pain because the brain uses that to warn or tell us something. So some persons, when they're experiencing pain, and when you couple that with stress and other emotional problems, because the emotional problems and stress and those things, they affect the mind. So when the mind is not well, other parts of the body don't function well. So for example, when some persons are stressed, they feel a scratch in the throat. Some persons, their leg feel tight. Some persons, their stomach become upset. Some persons get constipation. Some persons get diarrhea. So the psychosocial effects of something could cause physical effects. So it's important to know these are the little things. So when I say psychosocial, we're looking at home. You're getting the necessary help at home, at work. How is the work stress? How is the home stress? School stress? You're having a relationship issue. Because sometimes these things as well could bring on pain. So you have to analyze the biological human, the psychological human, and the social human. And the problem with a lot of these impersonators is that they're only looking at the biological aspect. And that could be very dangerous in trying to get a patient from point A to point B in their rehabilitation.
If I could jump in with an indicator psychosocial, they've realized that school children who have been complaining about belly pain on certain school days or giving trouble to go to school, that belly pain is actual belly pain caused by heightened anxiety. They're not faking to stay home. They feel the anxiety, it manifests physiologically. But then when they no longer have to go to school, the anxiety diminishes, so the belly pain goes away. So that's why you will hear, from the time you get to stay home, you start to feel better, right? And those are indicators of things like the performance in school, whether they're being bullied, if there are subjects that they don't like doing. So a tummy ache as an excuse to stay home is actually an indicator of the child's psychological state based on how they feel about school at that time.
What you now said, that is the exact thing we're looking at, right? So as I said, there is the psychological and the social aspect, and plenty times people overlook these things. And a parent, for example, will see this and just say, hey, you're faking, you're pretending, come and go to school. You understand? Without looking into these things. So if a person is not educated and aware of these things, you see the kind of problem we could be getting into.
I know a couple times Aaron say he had a tummy ache before we supposed to come on here and record. I realize what it is now.
Yeah, exactly.
No judgment here, no judgment. I know it's not every day is a juve, you know.
I just can't eat pepper, so anytime I consume pepper, it has adverse effects on my body.
Okay.
Sorry, sir.
I was gonna say, with respect to, I'm realizing that the trained and qualified physiotherapists concentrate more on the holistic aspect of care, right? So let's say, for example, the traffic situation on a morning headed to Port of Spain,
Yes.
and someone complaining of back pain. So it could just be more than just sitting in a car for 2 hours on a daily basis in the same position, mashing brakes, because they really can't mash gas in traffic.
Yes.
And that could be the social aspect, the psychological aspect could be the cause of the back pain more than just the sitting there for the 2 hours. Just to sum it up for somebody who at home thinking, boy, my back just hurting because I sitting down whole morning, no, but not considering the additional stress of that traffic.
That is a good point. I remember a couple years ago, you know, there was a patient, and the patient was adamant that I need to crack the back, I need to twist it a certain way, I need to stretch it a certain way, and I'm like, no. And I was telling the patient, it's the stress of the workplace. He's like, no, it's a chair in the office, and so on, right? The person went away for the 21st anniversary, and they went away for 3 weeks. The 3 weeks the person was away, no pain, none at all. The minute the person came back to Trinidad and walked into the office, pain started again.
Before they sit down in the chair.
Before they sit down in the chair.
Sometimes the pain just come when they reach in the car park.
They reach in the car park. Exactly. So, you know, these things are important, and you know, people even sometimes, and this is also important, you know, when you're with the first interaction with the patient, you might say, hey, any stress, anything like that, and they'll be like, no man, just the ordinary stress, you know, living in Trinidad stressful. And I know brush it off like that, right?
No, it's stressful.
Yeah.
It's stressful.
Then, by the time you reach the third or the fourth session, you might hear the person say, boy, you know, having a little problem with me daughter-in-law home, you know. It's the only problem in the house. And, you know, these are the things start to come out. So if you don't spend the time to interact with the patient and analyze the patient, and if the patient just come and you say, all right, lie down on your belly and let me start to rub, you miss these things. And then it's not only that you look out for these things, you know, as a professional, when you see a patient with certain issues, you have to know that, all right, should I refer this patient next to a psychologist? You know, or if your patient comes with a certain issue, should I refer this patient to a dietitian? You know, so these things you have to be able to think of and analyze, and a person who is not trained is not at that point.
Yeah, you know, Ricardo, permit me for a second here. You have been advocating for a while about the cost of accessing services like these, right? When it comes to, as you said, a therapist or a psychiatrist or a psychologist. Now, I don't want an exact figure, right? But is accessing physiotherapy something that as Ricardo would say, the man on the street could afford?
All right, let me answer it this way. The man on the street could afford it. And let me tell you why. You see, if the man on the street does not receive it, it will cost him more in the long run. Right? If the man on the street works from day to day and he's injured and he cannot work, the money that he's losing day to day will be far more than what it would cost him if he attended physiotherapy. And listen to the nice thing about physiotherapy. When you come to a session, what I always say to my patients, when they ask me when to come back again, I say, listen, that is dependent on you. So what I do after a session, I show you what you need to work on at home. So if we go through 13 things, I'll pick 5 and I'll show you what to do. Sometimes with patients, almost everybody have a cell phone these days, I'll let them videotape it. So even if you cannot afford to come back and see me until next month, you have something to work on, and we keep the lines of communication open until then. So also to patients, even if you could just get one session in, right? Because and I'll quote a figure, most places it could range anywhere between 200 to probably some of the more expensive places like 500 plus per session. So the average man, in my opinion, if they could get at least one session in for the month, it could make a big difference, because many times I've seen patients one session alone and it gave them a big difference. So that is the thing.
As I tell anyone, it's about sacrifice for self-care.
That's right.
So instead of buying that bottle of Angostura, whatever it may be, I just saying, seek self-care, seek physiotherapy.
No,
So-
what you call in sacrifice for self-care, I would call strategy for self-care. Because even if it costs you a day pay or a week pay, at least having spent that money, you could go back to work.
You go back to work.
If you
Yeah.
don't spend it, you put yourself in a position where you might not be able to go back to work.
That is the thing, and that is why I always say it's an investment.
Now-
It's an investment.
I want to reference, we know that, as I say, outside open back, right? And sweat going on everywhere, fat matches, everything. So for the fellas out there that feel any little tinge in the thigh or the pull on the hamstring because you ain't sweating 2 years, or you feel the hamstring burst, but you go and you pop 2 cataflam. No, I'm serious. These are the things that people do
What they're saying
to
is
go
true.
and sweat on.
How strong cataflam get? You could pop 2 cataflam under a hamstring injury and run out on the field? I just curious.
All right.
This
Aaron,
is one of those moments where I
Aaron.
just,
Aaron, you're making bad choices again.
no, I'm not making bad choices. I have seen people do it. I'm not saying to go and do it, but I have seen persons pop anti-inflammatory drugs to be able to play through pain.
All right, you see, and that in and of itself, it could be dangerous. Because, you see, most anti-inflammatories are what we call NSAIDs. They should really be taken for at least 5 days, and then after 5 days, that is it. Because when you take them for over a prolonged period of time, it starts to affect the stomach, the kidney, the liver, and all these other organs that have to be breaking down these drugs. And then when you look at how many months sometimes persons taking it for, sometimes it becomes more psychological. They're just taking it because they feel they will have pain. So you're spending the money on the drugs, spending the money. Then if you just had done probably 2-3 sessions with the right person, you could be back out, your stomach getting a break, your pocket getting a break, your kidney and your liver getting a break, and and you're enjoying the sport that you love, you're feeling more confident, and you're performing better.
See, Ricardo, sometimes you have to put the what does happen on the streets out there to debunk that information.
All right, correct. Because you say that, and what tragically I want to reference is too many times you see fellas, athletes, gym body men, collapse in the gym, collapse on the field, collapse on the basketball court. And they're supposed to be fit because they're exercising all the time, but you don't know what damage they do by, again, overcompensating for pain by taking a medication that went to corrupt or contaminate some other part of the system. When you hear a man taking on the field just so, but you know you're seeing him sweating every week, you don't know what internal alignment was off in terms of, again, it could be a renal issue, it could be a liver issue, that type of thing, because he popping painkillers and running normal for months, years sometimes.
Yes, sometimes, yep. So even in the United States, the Physiotherapy Association, the American Physiotherapy Association, they have been advocating big for choosing physiotherapy, especially over what you would call these drugs for chronic pain. I'm trying to remember the name now, but it will come back to me. but we have opioids.
Opioids. Yeah.
Yes. So you probably have heard of the opioid epidemic or the opioid pandemic of opioids, because a lot of persons are using opioids, to deal with pain, and there's so much addiction sometimes arises out of it, and these other issues. Than if persons would have went the opportunity of physiotherapy, and where they could get a non-pharmacological management towards pain, and that will help them also to improve their self-efficacy and that kind of thing. And even as I'm on the self-efficacy point, plenty times when people go by these impersonators, you don't get that component of the treatment, improving self-efficacy, teaching the patient how to start to function again with things that they found difficult. Or sometimes when you have pain, some things just become fearful, and it's not that you can't do it, but with the fear of pain, you don't do it. So we help patients in a gradual manner to overcome these hurdles. But the thing is that the average person, if someone just tell you that, no man, let me rub it out and you're good. You're going to say, let me lie down and you come and you rub. But you're not getting better. You're not getting better, and that is the thing. So it is a lot of things you're missing out when you're not going by someone who is properly regulated.
I know physiotherapy. We had Daniel on a couple months ago.
Yeah.
Right. Greetings, Daniel. Sorry. Daniel.
I wondering who's Daniel.
Well, I edited that out. Sorry,
no,
Daniel.
You should leave that.
Sorry, Daniel. But we had Daniel Jacko on a couple months ago, and again, congratulations on opening of her second branch. And she came across a conversation I was having with a young lady a day, because the young lady was saying that having had a child recently, she was looking for some work with her pelvic floor, right?
Yeah.
And the thing is, we still undereducated as to the range of services that a qualified physiotherapist provides. We are talking about physiotherapy who has become useful in terms of COVID recovery and that type of thing. We don't get it. We keep thinking, all right, sports and work injury, something at home. We don't get that this is a specialty in itself when it comes to healthcare.
Well, you see, to be honest, I can't really say we are falling short, because it's not even just the average person not aware. Sometimes even some of our fellow medical professionals, they're not aware, because plenty times doctors will refer patients for physiotherapy, and the treatments that they're requesting is probably treatments that were used 30, 20, 15 years ago, that the studies are showing now that they're no longer effective. Mm-hmm. So I don't know if it's our fault that we're not educating the public enough. I'm really not sure where we are falling short, but it's on us, and even through the Physiotherapy Association of Trinidad and Tobago, we have to try to do a lot more public education so that the public knows what we're offering. We have to also do a lot of education for other colleagues, because sometimes these patients with these problems, whether it be pelvic floor, whether it be neurological issues, they would have gone through doctors, nurses, and other professionals, but they're probably just not aware of the scope of physiotherapy services and how it could benefit, patients. And that is why, a lot of patients just not accessing these services.
Well, let me tell you plain.
Well, and I want to say, just to be transparent with the listeners, Ricardo.
Yeah.
While you were speaking about that, I was Googling what is the pelvic floor. I have no shame in saying it.
All right. Let me make it easy to understand, right? Pelvic floor, if you think about the pelvis, or the hip area, good? You have a group of muscles that support organs like the bladder, and the women like the womb and the ovaries and so on, right? The muscles within that area, you have what you call the pelvic floor muscles. It's the same muscles that help you if you're urinating to relax so that the urine could flow, and if you have to go quick, you could stop it and you could go, right? It's the same set of muscles that when some persons, for example, like women after pregnancy, sometimes if they sneeze, they find that they're leaking, and those kind of, it's just because of weakness in that area. Sometimes men, will have those similar issues like after like prostate surgery, or if they have prostate issues. And so sometimes some men will even have problems with erectile dysfunction, and it could be related to pelvic floor issues. So it's those group of muscles inside the pelvis area right there. Some persons, they have difficulty controlling the release of feces and so on. So weakness in those muscles, that is the pelvic floor muscles that we're talking. So those muscles inside there, those are the pelvic floor muscles. Some women, when they're having sex, it's painful. And let me try to say this in the most appropriate way. Some persons as well, when they're having sex, because they feel that it's so tight, it's so good. But sometimes if it's too tight, it could be a problem known as vaginismus, which physiotherapists could actually help in terms of, because sex shouldn't be painful. So all those things, is not only could the pelvic floor could be weak, it could also be overactive. So, all these things physiotherapists, helping patients with on a day-to-day.
Ricardo, before you ask the question, just a point. Yeah, I think that's an episode that we should try and have.
I man say an episode. I already thinking
a series
for November. When we're doing Men's Health Month, we could spend a little time. We could dedicate our 2 weeks instead of the usual one, right? Because it have different elements of this thing that we need to approach clearly. And what I was going to mention earlier was one of the best Facebook ads I've done in years, Adrian, was following you, because your public outreach is not just professional, it's personal, it's holistic. I could get advice on diet, I could see you talking about social issues, I could see you talking about exercise. You legitimately continuously engage your community to help us make better decisions, to be more aware. So in terms of the type of outreach, I would definitely advocate that you'll start having some conversations about how to take what you doing generally and regularizing it within the association, because I've learned more from just looking at your posts sometimes than if I sit down and how often am I, the man on the street, going to tune in to a conference? You understand?
I totally understand what you're saying, yes.
You're doing a great job. It was easy to say, hey, listen, I know the right person to have this conversation with, because you're always having the convo. You always putting it out there. Your interest in the community's health is a marvelous thing to witness. So I want to give you flowers, and I want to tip my hat in your presence. Congratulations.
Thank you, man. Thank you.
Gotta turn the hat around to tip it, though.
Listen, Mr. Man, I wear a hat in my bedroom. It have a reason I'm wearing a hat in my bedroom. I know if you're looking to see the LeBron that going on, the Kevin Durant that are growing here, I'm not taking off my hat.
I already told you.
Leave that way it is.
In last week's episode, Ricardo, we addressed it. It's one of the major decisions that a man has to make, knowing when to let go of the hair.
I will shave before the next episode so I can take off my hat.
All right.
If you're having problems accepting, we can have a conversation about this off air.
When you look like you over accept,
Yeah, man. But yes, it's really good. As I say, I always try. My motto is that I am here for a time. I am not sure how long I will be alive for, and I just want to create a positive impact while I'm alive. I completely understand that I will never treat every patient in Trinidad and Tobago. So all the time I send patients to all my colleagues in the East, in South, I send patients all over. But I say some persons will probably never come into my office or into a physiotherapist's office, but I could put the information out there. It will impact someone's life. And when you work in an environment like me and you operate in a sphere in which I operate, you see people with problems every day. Like every day, you see all different kind of problems. And if I realize an issue, I see it's becoming prevalent, I'm just going to talk about it. If I realize this week a lot of people talking about family issues, then I might talk about how family issues affect me or affect your health. And I'll just put it out there. Someone might benefit from it. Sometimes someone might message and say, thanks for what you're doing. So for example, as you know, I talk about my marriage a lot, and how I relate to my wife, and I talk about issues I face, and I'm just open with these things. And sometimes a friend would message me and say, hey, you really inspire me, and we would never know. So I try to keep it open. I'm saying there are private things about my life that I'll keep private, but I know there are aspects about my life that if I had someone sharing the information, certain mistakes I made, I would not have made, or certain things I would have done better. So that is just my part. And I say, especially in terms of physiotherapy, there's a lot of misinformation and misunderstanding out there. So we just have to always keep putting the information out there for the public to understand.
In my humble opinion, I think that following up with this article, which was published in the Trinidad Express, the association or the board should take a little more and do some public education. If it's coming on programs akin to this one, or on other stations, whatever it may be, get that information out there. Do ad campaigns on Facebook. Get that information out there, because I will speak for myself, as I always do. When I dislocated my shoulder the first time, and wow, Ricardo, and was sent to do physiotherapy, I didn't go.
Yes, I remember you telling me that, yeah.
That actually that reminds me of another huge issue that Adrian you suggested earlier, but I don't think we really get to follow through with it. Here's what's happening, ladies and gentlemen. You see the exercises that the physiotherapist might present you with that you don't ever do until you get back to the office. Those exercises are not for the therapist. They are for you. Yes, we have a tendency to, I really supposed to do this thing, but yeah, I gotta start tomorrow. I gotta start Monday. And next thing you know, your next visit due, you've done none of the exercises, there's no marked improvement, and now you feel like the physiotherapist ain't doing nothing because you're not improving.
You know what I always say to patients? I'll say, will you go to the doctor and the doctor give you a prescription, and you go back to the doctor in 2 weeks, you never fill the prescription and say, doctor, not feeling better. It makes no sense. It's the same thing with the exercises, right? To the extent where we always say exercise is medicine, right? Because the thing about exercise, it's really a holistic thing. Exercise not only helps to give you back range of motion or give you back strength, sometimes it gives you back confidence. It gives you the ability to function. And this is something that they need to practice over and over and over so that they get better at it. But many times the patients, they'll say, boy, they were so busy and so on, and they never get it. And then they come to the office and say, how are you feeling? Boy, you're not feeling any better, And then they talk, and then I wait until they finish talking, and I said, you did the exercises? Well, I never get the time, them children, and that is the kind of conversation that they get. But, it's important that they find the time and you do the exercises. And listen to this. The patients who spend the time to do the exercises are the ones that get out of therapy quicker. So that's more money in your pocket, and you return back to your function much quicker.
So basically, right, in any form of therapy, the therapist gives you homework, be it physiotherapy or psychology or whatever it may be. If you don't do that homework, what you're saying is that you're going to be there for a longer time to spending more money.
Basically.
So all the homework that you didn't do in secondary school and in university, do it now when you go for physiotherapy or any form of therapy.
That is right.
The way I see it, you're paying for that homework though.
You're paying for that.
But when you go to school, you're just paid to go to school.
And you're doing that homework. You're doing that homework. I mean, you really look like a fella didn't finish homework and thing, before the class start, you're borrowing people book and
Right, that,
No, I never borrowed anybody, but before the class started, I was more than likely rushing to do the homework, especially if it was a science subject.
yeah, you're one of them fellas that are telling you, make sure and change something and don't copy it word for word.
Brother man, I never copied homework. I just said that.
I realize you're going to stop at never copy and then you catch yourself. I appreciate the honesty, Aaron. I appreciate the honesty. Hey, speaking of honesty.
Oh, father.
No, Aaron, I'm not going to refer to myself as a beacon of anything. I was going to commend Adrian, right, for not just the health and the dietary and the social commentary, but he's a man, you love your God. You love your God. You ain't afraid to say it. And every opportunity you get to serve. And I don't think plenty people understand too that serving a neighbor is loving God,
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Say it again for those in the back, please.
That serving a neighbor is loving God. You understand?
Loving God. Yeah.
The greatest among us will be a servant. So when you come out and you question people on the decisions that they're making or the place that they stand up or the things that they're doing, that is service, That love. People feel that serving a neighbor and loving a neighbor and thing is just yes. No, sometimes it's a no, a why, and what you're doing.
Holding them accountable.
I mean, and Adrian ain't afraid to hold people accountable. I've seen some of the questions that you ask, and it's probing questions that make me take a stock of myself. Like, you can't be out here on platforms and in the public saying and doing things, and you have no personal integrity. So I just want to say that you might have start in physio, but you definitely have a much bigger stage. As you so rightfully say, you might not be able to treat every person in Trinidad and Tobago, but that don't mean that you're not in a position to reach every person in Trinidad and Tobago.
That's the thing. And I always tell people, when you see I come on social media and I talk about the issue, it's not a next man problem I'm talking about, Most of the time it's my problem I'm talking about.
Facts.
You understand? It's my problem I'm talking about, because I said something I am battling with, somebody else might be battling with it too, And it's not because something fall into my court, I won't share it. I will share it.
Yeah.
I will share it, and and I always tell people, I don't come from the stance for anybody to feel judged. No, don't feel judged. We want to see, the reality of our situation. This is our situation. What we doing next? And that is the approach. That is the approach, man. My relationship with God affects, everything I do. And it's the same reason why, when I see a patient, I want the best for the patient. Even if I can't give them the best, I want the best for them, because everything I do, I say I am accountable to this person. As you said, if you understand religion from the perspective of that, you're loving the neighbor. Because even Christ himself said that, loving the neighbor. So when I see a patient, I can't just treat you like a patient. You're a human being. You're a person. So it goes more than just, the pain that you're feeling. Plenty times, listen, I will have a patient in my office if I have the time, and you're in my office 3-4 hours. If I find out that you are having a problem, and as I say, a lot of psychosocial issues with it. Once I'm not busy and I could accommodate you, I have you there talking. And plenty time the person leave and say, boy, I'm feeling better. And I tell them it's not really therapy, These issues, you wanted to talk about them, you wanted to discuss them, you wanted to get them out. So that is the thing. We have to do more. So sometimes we have to go above what we are called or even what we are ordained to do, and just give it to our best, because people out there, we need each other. We need each other.
Yeah.
Something came to mind just now with what you all were discussing there. The person, it's more than a client. They're a companion.
Yes.
So if you're looking for a tagline for a business, I just gave you one for free.
Hey, on that note, one thing I want to, actually I could do that in my closing, but what I want to find out, I want to find out. You find I could do it now. All right.
Good
Well,
now.
what I wanted to say was that even in our men's group I'm in, one of the things that came out was that there's a difference between transparency and vulnerability. We could sit down here and talk plain from a position of transparency, as in that is what I went through. But we could talk from a position of vulnerability and say, this is what I'm going through. Plenty times when you talk from a place of transparency, is I've been there, done that. But vulnerability does require that listener still in that place and I'll let you know this is what is going on. So when you speak from a position of vulnerability, that does resonate in a way that transparency cannot resonate, because you're not looking back and you're not looking down. Sometimes you're looking across and you're looking up from a position of vulnerability.
I think someone sent me a post about this month being some kind of men's awareness month or something, right? And it begs me to continue to implore the male listeners and the men around the world that you need to acknowledge how you feel. Because in acknowledging how you feel, you may be able to further get to the root cause of something which may be physical.
Yeah.
All right? So, fellas, take some time. Allow yourself to be vulnerable. If you don't want to do it with your wife, your girlfriend, or your partners, or whoever it may be, sit in silence at home and allow yourself to be vulnerable and understand how you feel right now in the situation. All right? With that being said, guys, I know you all look forward to me saying this word each and every week. We are getting perilously close to the hour of 7 p.m. And when it's 7 p.m., we come close to our end. So we hand it over to our guests, first and foremost, to close us off.
All right. So, well, as I said, everyone, as we discussed a lot of issues today, but we're really looking at the concerns about impersonators. Just remember, when you contact a physiotherapist, they should be registered. To the point, re-registration is required every year. And every year we have to do courses that are up to date to ensure that the type of treatments we are given, the type of assessments we are doing are in line with best practice and what research has proven. The Council of Professions Related to Medicine through the Physiotherapist Board provides us with an ID card that will indicate the year in which we have been re-registered. So any person is a physiotherapist, once you reach in their office, they should be able to present you with that card. Once they could present you with that card, if you even have insurance and those things to claim, you would be able to claim insurance. It is your duty. I remember once I went to someone's home, and when I reached at the gate, the lady, I want to know you're a physiotherapist. And I was so happy. I tell her I never felt offended. I took out my card and I showed her, and she was pleased, and she allowed me into her home. So patients out there, don't be afraid to ask. It's your right, it's your health, it's your expenses, it's your livelihood, it's your social life, it's your whole well-being. Ensure that the person who is treating you is a registered physiotherapist.
Yep, appreciate it, man. Is there any way for people to contact you? I know Aruka Plus, you want to put that out there? Is it
Okay, well, if anybody wants to contact me, they could always contact me at 314-3639. Right, that is my business number, but you could always call. I'll say if you call and you don't get me, you could WhatsApp, leave a message. I will respond to you. And I'm saying, even if I can't help you, I will point you to where you need to get help. So it's 314-3639.
And as we always say when our guests give out phone numbers, please be respectful, call at decent hours, and call for business purposes only.
When they see him come out with the tone and the authority and the accent and the markup clean and thing too, they might want to send bad message. But no, he has mentioned his wife and his family several times. Business purposes only. This is
Ricardo.
Yours truly, Ricardo Mitchell, the social stage on the local stage. Thanking you guys for joining us in the living room. I've had a great evening and a lovely conversation. Thank you guys for giving us your company and your attention. Remember, guys, the hourglass is opaque. We don't know how much time remains. So whatever you're doing, be good and stay safe. Aaron?
And this is yours truly, DJ Aaron 868. I'm always great, and trust me, I am never late. I want to send belated birthday greetings going out to the man, Mr. Kenny Phillips, as well as my aunt Gelda. Happy belated birthday to the both of y'all. As always say it, as beg it, love is the currency, you know. Spend some today. Let somebody know that you love them. Up next is Mr. Desmond inside the big band. And jokingly, and I say this jokingly, Kenny and the cameraman alongside Mr. Desmond will be performing on Friday at Ateliers alongside the Secret Unit. All right?
I staying out of that. Adrian, anybody you want to say goodnight to before we sign out?
Well, I want to say goodnight to my family. I want to say especially to my wife and all my patients out there. Keep strong, keep on the good path, keep working hard, you will get there.
Appreciate it, man. Yeah, it was a pleasure having you here, brother.
Indeed it was.
I'm feeling better already, you know. I feel like I learned something and I get something off my chest this evening.
Keep it loud.